Please welcome the Bioproducts group.
Hello, I'm Riley. This is Sam, Michael, Anthony, Jacob, and Sophie, and we're going to be doing bioproducts. Bioproducts are renewable chemical materials and energy derived from biological sources. Bioproducts replace non-renewable resources. They first arrived when human society started using ethanol for ritualistic and recreational purposes. Bioproducts save the use of fossil fuels. BP estimated that we only have 53.3 years left of crude oil, and with the help of scientists studying different ways to use bioproducts, we could replace the fossil fuels with them. Bioproducts are an eco-friendly, renewable alternative to fossil fuels.
There are already several forms of alternative fuel in development. One of the most recent and most major advances is called the Omega system, developed by NASA scientists. It's a system that uses microalgae, which is just microscopic algae, contained in a system that, using sunlight and motion of waves in the ocean, can produce an incredible amount of fuel. A facility of the Omega system that covers less than 1% of the San Francisco Bay would provide the city with a significant amount of its power needs for the year. And in addition to fuel, the algae can also be reused as food. There are, of course, other sources of biofuels, most notably algae, of course, soy, corn, many different plants, although algae is the most productive by far.
Bioproducts in themselves are a very compelling issue, but especially bioproducts with transportation. This is because of the depletion of fossil fuels. In fact, if we keep using fossil fuels at the rate which they are being used now, they will be gone in between 50 and 100 years. And this is mainly due to gasoline consumption. In fact, in 2014, it was found that they used 21,633,600 gallons per day. And 85 to 95% of that is fossil fuels, because that is what is regulated by the United States. Especially since we cannot refine fossil fuels because it has to be greater than 85% quality to be sold in the United States.
Well, what we need to do is we need to make the Omega system a little bit cheaper and more efficient, basically so that we can drive the cost down to operate it for the producer, so that it drives the cost down for the consumer. Because right now, biofuels are pretty expensive. We could probably refine it to make it work on freshwater systems, because currently it only will work in the ocean setting because of the wave movement. If we put some money into refining that process, it would make things a whole lot more efficient. And this is important because if you drive the cost of production down, you definitely drive the cost for the consumer as well.
So the petroleum and petroleum alternative market is a multi-trillion-dollar global enterprise and is accountable for 37% of the United States energy consumption. Biomass, however, is the largest renewable resource market. However, that 50% of the renewable resource market only makes up 6% of the world's energy consumption. So it's held back mostly because of economic benefits held by petroleum and fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are up to 50% cheaper than a biomass alternative. As you can see here in this graph, gasoline is way under the price of biomass. To sell a petroleum or petroleum alternative, it has to go through regulations set by the United States and it has to be greater than 85% purity. However, these lower level industry don't have the capital available to meet these standards. So to meet these standards, a large amount of capital have to be entered into the market. So $8 would be put towards refining the biomass industry that's already there. Another $75,000 would be put towards refining the Omega system, which would serve as expand the marketplace for biomass.
In conclusion, we found that biofuels have to be our future. The fossil fuel industry is coming to a close faster than we are prepared for. We really have to start now and refine what biofuels we have and create new ones that will be more efficient and will sustain us through the future. Biofuels and biofuel industries in particular need a lot of funding to become more prominent in the marketplace. Biofuels currently are too expensive to be much of a competitor against petroleum, and if we can find ways to make biofuels more efficient and more available to the average consumer, then we'll see a much larger increase in the use of biofuels over the next 50 years to a century. The Omega system is a really big deal that if we put more funding into figuring out how to make it more efficient and more available so that we can run it in freshwater lakes or run it in a smaller surface area, we can really use that to move forward in the industry. In conclusion, we really need funding to refine the Omega system and also to give a boost to smaller level biofuel industries in the marketplace. Any questions?
How much money are you asking for?
We're asking for $75,000 to refine the Omega system in particular, and we're also asking for another $75,000 to give grants and other boosts to biomass industry that's already there. Yes.
Isn't there already kind of a framework with ethanol production for subsidizing some biomass?
Ethanol is already a really big deal, and most of the biofuels, or most of the fuel in the United States is already blended with ethanol, but we're trying to get it more prominent in the marketplace so that we can wean ourselves off of using petroleum.
So yeah, Henry, when they're producing this biomass, it has to meet this standard, and if it doesn't meet that standard, they have to end up pretty much wasting that produced product. So if they don't meet these standards, then all that money and capital that was put into that product was pretty much a waste. So you have to upsize the scale of these productions. Otherwise, if this issue keeps on becoming an issue, that's what drives up the biomass prices so much greater than the petroleum. Because petroleum, once you refine it, it's almost a guaranteed sell.
Is that it?
Okay, so the $75,000 that you're asking for to refine the Omega system, what are you looking to do with that $75,000? How would you refine the system?
I think.
The main thing we would need to do to refine the system is actually to expand it. The best thing about the Omega system, the best use of its potential is integration. The facility that I mentioned in San Francisco Bay, that's not purely hypothetical. That's actually something that the scientists who designed it would like to do. And it would encompass not only a very large amount of the algae system, but it would also contain ways to harvest other forms of fuel, such as wind energy, wind turbines, solar energy, and also underneath the water of the facility, you could have aquaculture as well.
So can we do this in the Chesapeake Bay?
Yes, anywhere where there is a significant amount of motion in the water, or sorry, a sufficient amount to move the flexible containers that the algae is in, so that it doesn't settle.
Are we doing this in the Chesapeake Bay?
Not currently. It hasn't yet been implemented fully. It's still fairly recent development, but that's why we need the capital, is to expand it to what it could be, and it is very possible to put it in the Chesapeake Bay.
What kind of strength
Very little, actually, because as I mentioned, underneath the facility, there's an area to have aquaculture, cultivating fish and plants, and even the algae. If it were to break out, the algae that they use is a form of freshwater algae. So if it got out into the salt water, it would just die, and then fish would eat it.
I believe there's a prototype run by them, the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. I think they've got one down there in Gloucester.
Did the group address any limitations because of biofuels? Basically, you're taking from a food source to be able to supply for an energy source. And with the ethanol situation that has occurred, farmers have seen a huge spike in corn prices whenever ethanol was being, in high demand. Now they've seen corn prices drop back down significantly. And did you all do any looking into how to compensate for biomass production and not taking away from food production?
Yes, and that's one of the big reasons that the algae is so important, because generally people don't eat algae, but but not only does microalgae in particular produce a significantly higher amount of fuel than corn or soy or anything else. Also, once it's worn out, I suppose, and done making fuel, you can actually, the Omega system actually has a container that you can scoop up the algae out of and use it for food. So it would actually produce more food.